7 silent struggles almost every senior faces but never talks about. Have you ever found yourself pausing in the middle of a quiet afternoon, perhaps sipping a cup of tea or coffee while gazing out at the familiar neighborhood, and suddenly feeling a gentle wave of unspoken emotion wash over you? It's that subtle, unnamed tug at your heart, maybe a whisper of loneliness amid the silence of an empty home, or a quiet concern about how the years ahead will unfold. If you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s, or beyond, living in vibrant places like the bustling cities of the US, the historic towns of the UK, or the sunny shores of Australia, you've likely accumulated a lifetime of rich experiences, raising children who are now building their own families, dedicating decades to meaningful careers that shaped who you are, and perhaps even embracing the freedoms of retirement with open arms. Yet beneath that surface of strength, wisdom, and accomplishment, there often lie silent struggles, those deeply personal challenges that we carry quietly, not wanting to burden others or appear vulnerable. These aren't dramatic crises shouted from the rooftops. They're the soft, persistent undercurrents that can make everyday life feel a bit heavier. Today, in this caring and thoughtful exploration, we're going to shine a gentle light on 7 of these hidden struggles that almost every senior faces, but rarely talks about. We'll delve into each one with empathy, sharing relatable stories drawn from real-life inspirations, offering detailed insights into why they happen, how they affect us emotionally and practically, and some warm, encouraging thoughts on navigating them. My goal isn't to dwell on the difficulties, but to validate your feelings, remind you of your inner resilience, and inspire a sense of connection. Because when we acknowledge these quiet battles together, they lose some of their power, and we gain a deeper appreciation for the beautiful journey of aging. So let's proceed with kindness and understanding, taking our time to truly unpack each one. The quiet grip of loneliness. Let's begin with one of the most poignant yet under-discussed struggles, the quiet grip of loneliness that can settle in like a soft fog, clouding even the sunniest days. This isn't merely about physical solitude, though that can play a part. It's about that profound sense of disconnection from the meaningful relationships that once filled our lives with warmth and purpose. As we age, life naturally shifts. Children move away to pursue their dreams, lifelong friends retire to distant locales or pass on, and social networks that were once bustling with activity begin to thin out. But why do we keep this silent? Often, it's because we don't want to seem needy or impose on busy loved ones, or perhaps we fear that admitting it might make it feel more real. The emotional toll can be significant. It might lead to restless nights, a diminished appetite for hobbies we once loved, or even a subtle withdrawal from the world, which only deepens the cycle. Now, to bring this home, let's consider the story of Margaret, a warm-hearted 68-year-old widow living in a cozy suburb of Texas. Margaret had always been the social glue in her community, hosting backyard barbecues and organizing neighborhood events, with her late husband Tom by her side. But 5 years after Tom's passing from a long illness, the house that once echoed with laughter now felt overwhelmingly spacious and echoey. Her 2 grown children, one in California and the other in New York, called weekly via video, sharing updates about their careers and grandkids, but those conversations often skimmed the surface, leaving Margaret yearning for deeper, in-person connections. She didn't mention her loneliness. Instead, she busied herself with gardening, tending to her roses with meticulous care, or flipping through faded photo albums late into the evening, her eyes misting over with memories of shared sunsets and family vacations. There were days when she'd drive to the local park just to watch families picnicking, feeling a quiet ache for that sense of belonging. Margaret's experience mirrors so many others. Statistics quietly show that over half of seniors report feeling lonely at times, but it's rarely voiced because we value our independence fiercely. But here's the inspiring part. Recognizing this struggle opens doors to gentle solutions. For instance, Margaret eventually joined a local senior walking group, where casual strolls turned into heartfelt chats over coffee, rekindling that spark of connection. Simple steps like volunteering at a community center, adopting a pet for companionship, or even exploring online forums tailored for seniors can transform isolation into enriching interactions. It's about honoring our need for human touch without apology, and in doing so, we rediscover the joy of shared stories and laughter. If loneliness has touched your life, know that it's a common thread in the tapestry of aging, and reaching out, even in small ways, can weave new patterns of fulfillment. Hidden financial worries. Moving on to another deeply personal challenge, the hidden financial worries that simmer beneath the surface, even for those who've spent a lifetime planning and saving diligently. In our golden years, we envision relaxation and freedom, but the reality of escalating costs for everything from medical bills and prescription medications to everyday groceries and utility payments can create a persistent undercurrent of stress that erodes our peace of mind. This struggle often remains silent because admitting financial strain can feel like a personal failure, especially after years of hard work, or we worry it might alarm our families and prompt unwanted interventions. The impacts are multifaceted. It might manifest as sleepless nights calculating budgets, foregoing small pleasures like a weekend outing, or even delaying necessary home repairs, which in turn affects our sense of security and well-being. To illustrate this with empathy, let's turn to John, a steadfast 72-year-old retiree residing in a quaint village in the English countryside. John had dedicated over 40 years to his trade as a skilled mechanic, rising early each day to fix cars and support his family, all while squirreling away portions of his earnings into a modest pension fund. He and Mary had dreamed of leisurely travels in retirement, perhaps a cruise along the Mediterranean or visits to historical sites. But after Mary's unexpected health issues required costly treatments, and with inflation driving up the price of basics like heating oil and fresh produce, John's carefully laid plans began to fray. He found himself meticulously reviewing bank statements at the kitchen table, opting for generic brands at the supermarket, and politely declining invitations to pub lunches with old mates, citing vague excuses rather than revealing the truth. Deep down, a quiet shame gnawed at him. He didn't want his adult children, who were navigating their own financial pressures with mortgages and school fees, to view him as anything less than the reliable provider he'd always been. John's story is emblematic of a broader reality. Many seniors face fixed incomes that don't pace up with life's rising demands, leading to this unspoken anxiety. Yet there's hope and empowerment in addressing it thoughtfully. John, after some reflection, sought advice from a free community financial counselor, discovering untapped senior discounts on utilities and exploring part-time consulting gigs in his field to supplement his income. Broader strategies include creating a detailed budget with room for joys, discussing options with trusted financial advisors, or tapping into government programs like pension credits in the UK or Social Security optimizations in the US. By breaking the silence in safe spaces, we not only alleviate the burden, but also model wise stewardship for younger generations, turning potential vulnerability into a story of enduring resourcefulness and grace. Now, let's gently address a struggle that touches the mind and spirit, the unspoken fears surrounding occasional memory slips, those fleeting moments when a familiar name eludes us or we pause mid-sentence, searching for the right word. As we age, our brains, like the rest of our bodies, undergo natural changes, perhaps due to fatigue, stress, or simply the accumulation of years. But these small lapses can ignite a deeper anxiety about cognitive health, one we often keep private to avoid overreactions from loved ones or to preserve our self-image as sharp and capable. The emotional ripple effects can be profound. It might lead to self-doubt, avoidance of social situations where quick recall is needed, or even a quiet dread that disrupts our enjoyment of daily life. To make this more relatable and human, consider Evelyn, a dedicated 65-year-old former school teacher from a vibrant coastal town in Australia. Evelyn had spent her career inspiring young minds, her classroom walls adorned with student artwork, and her days filled with lively discussions on literature and history. Retirement brought her time for passions like solving intricate crossword puzzles and reading classic novels under the shade of her backyard eucalyptus tree. But in recent months, she'd noticed subtle changes, misplacing her reading glasses more frequently than usual, forgetting the plot twist in a book she'd just finished, or drawing a blank on a longtime neighbor's name during a casual street encounter. These incidents, though minor, stirred a whirlwind of worry within her. Lying in bed at night, Evelyn would replay the moments, her mind racing with questions. Is this normal or the beginning of something more serious? She chose not to share with her family, fearing they'd insist on unnecessary doctor's visits or treat her with kid gloves, altering the dynamic she cherished. Instead, she compensated by making detailed lists and setting phone reminders, all while carrying this internal burden alone. Evelyn's quiet battle echoes the experiences of countless seniors, where media stories about memory-related conditions amplify our concerns, making us hesitant to voice